In 1914, a carriage travels through the French countryside, carrying Mrs. Mueller and young Roger to his family's home. As they ride, Roger tries to stay polite and avoid staring at her. When they arrive at the grand villa, his mother and Aunt Marguerite greet him warmly. A maid named Ursula helps with his luggage and asks if he still remembers her after 3 years away. Roger smiles and says he does. From an upstairs window, his father's friend, Mr. Frank, waves down at them. Inside, Roger's sister Bertha welcomes him with a hug. Later, the two walk around the estate and meet Mrs. Mueller, who has been gathering fruit nearby. Her husband soon appears, and Bertha greets him politely. After some time alone, Roger wanders into the woods and sees Mr. Mueller kneeling in front of a small picture of his wife, muttering a prayer and acting strangely. When Roger accidentally steps on a twig, Mr. Mueller turns sharply. Startled, Roger runs off and trips on the forest floor. A few moments later, Roger hears laughter nearby and follows the sound. He discovers Ursula talking and laughing closely with Adolf, one of the workers at the villa. When she notices Roger watching, she smiles and wishes him a good morning. Embarrassed, he quickly walks away. That evening at supper, Roger sits quietly, observing everyone at the table. Mr. Frank asks Roger's mother about her daughter Elisa's sweetheart, and she proudly explains that he is a lieutenant in the army. She shows Mr. Frank a picture of the couple. When Bertha makes a teasing comment about it, their mother asks the governess, Kate, to take her upstairs to bed. After dinner, Roger says goodnight to everyone. When he kisses his aunt on the cheek, she turns away and gently refuses a second kiss. Later, as he gets ready for bed, Roger hears movement in the hallway. Curious, he steps out and notices a door left partly open with voices coming from inside. Feeling uneasy, he returns to his room. When he turns down his covers, he finds Bertha sitting on his bed. She says she cannot sleep and wants to keep talking with him since they haven't seen each other in so long. She tells him their mother once said Aunt Marguerite avoids romance because she is afraid of men. When Roger asks why Mr. Frank and Marguerite aren't together, Bertha guesses it's because he seems strange and not very charming. Just then, Kate enters the room and scolds Bertha for being out of bed. Bertha quickly gets up and hurries back to her room. The next morning, Roger and Bertha sit by the river, watching the maids relaxing on the opposite bank with their feet in the water. Ursula and Helen chat with Mrs. Mueller, who admits that her husband still struggles with his health. Across the river, Adolf and Valentine joke playfully with the women, and everyone laughs. Roger looks on, unsure how to react to their carefree behavior. Later that day, their father arrives home with their sister Elisa. The family gathers at the steps to welcome them. Inside, Bertha and Roger help their father sort through his metal samples. He sighs and explains that business has slowed down because, without war, there's little need for military needles. That afternoon, the workers and maids lift supplies into the barn. When Roger clumsily drops something, Adolf laughs and tosses a bit of hay at him in fun. Later, Bertha takes Roger to the old chapel and shows him a hidden crawl space above a confession booth. She tells him she found it by accident and sometimes listens there out of curiosity. After she leaves, Roger stays and overhears his Aunt Marguerite speaking with Father Gabriel. To his shock, she confesses that she has troubling thoughts she wishes she could forget. Startled, Roger shifts his weight, and the wooden floor gives way beneath him. He crashes into the booth below, startling both his aunt and the priest. Later, Elisa's fiancé, Roland, arrives at the villa and happens to see Roger being scolded for misbehaving. That night, Bertha finds her brother upset and tries to comfort him before wishing him good night. Not long after, Roger hears voices in the hallway and notices Mr. Frank standing quietly nearby, looking in the same direction. A moment later, Roger runs into Ursula, who mentions that even she isn't sure who Helen has been meeting at night. Curious, Roger goes up to the attic and finds Mr. Frank looking through his telescope. After the man leaves, Roger takes a quick look through it himself and spots a couple walking together outside in the garden. On the table, he notices an old book and slips it into his pocket before Mr. Frank returns. Before leaving, Roger shyly asks if adults ever feel the same restlessness he feels. Mr. Frank smiles and admits that sometimes they do. On his way back to his room, Roger accidentally glances into his parents' bedroom, only to be caught by Roland. The older man warns him not to spy again and threatens to tell his parents. Panicked, Roger promises to obey whatever Roland tells him. The next day, Roland orders Roger to clean his car. While Roger works, Eliza comes outside to join her fiancé. As Roland climbs onto the car to show off, Roger quietly moves the bucket of water beneath him, and the man slips and falls, leaving Roger trying hard not to laugh. Later that day, Roger hides inside the chicken coop with the book he borrowed from Mr. Frank. Curious, he flips through its pages filled with strange drawings and writings he doesn't quite understand. Just then, Adolphe comes in to spread hay, and soon after, Hélène appears at the window to feed the chickens. The two workers start teasing each other through the small opening, but Roger feels uncomfortable and quietly slips away before they notice him. Back at the house, Roger spots Eliza reading. While she's distracted, he switches her book with Mr. Frank's, hoping to play a small prank. A moment later, he makes a rude remark about Roland's shoes, which angers the man. Roland tells Roger's mother that the boy was spying outside their room the night before. Shocked, she scolds Roger and sends him out. From the doorway, he secretly watches to make sure Eliza picks up the switched book. Later, he sees her sitting under a tree, curiously reading it. In the kitchen, Roger startles Ursula while she's taking food out of the oven. Frightened, she drops a plate, and it shatters. When she realizes it's Roger, she quickly checks to see if he's hurt and helps him clean up the mess. Another maid enters, and the moment passes. Wanting to feel more grown up, Roger goes to the old chapel and follows Mrs. Mueller up the stairs to the second floor. She looks out the small window and calls down to her husband, telling him to stop his endless praying and come inside. Roger quietly enters the chapel room, where Mrs. Mueller stands by the window. Lost in his confusion and curiosity, he acts without thinking, startling the older woman. She quickly tells him to leave, but before anything more can happen, a loud knock at the door interrupts them. Mrs. Mueller rushes out to see what's going on. Outside, a messenger has arrived with urgent news. Germany has declared war on France. The workers gather round to listen, while inside the house, Roger's family celebrates. For them, the war means new orders for medals and a chance to restore their wealth. That evening, the mood around the estate grows restless. The men prepare to leave for the front, and the workers spend the night saying their goodbyes. Roger wanders about, realizing everyone else is already gone off with someone. Feeling left out, he returns to the house. The next morning, Bertha and her mother watch Eliza embrace Roland before he departs. The female servants join the men on a carriage heading toward town. As they pass Roger, a few of them give him warm, knowing smiles. Later that day, Ursula asks Roger to help her carry a mattress upstairs. Inside the room, his nervousness shows, and she can't help but smile at his awkwardness. She tells him to relax, seeing his youthful eagerness as harmless and sweet. Roger mistakes her kindness for affection and blurts out that he loves her and wants to marry her. Ursula laughs gently, realizing he's speaking from emotion rather than understanding. A short while later, Bertha notices Roger's torn shirt and guesses that something unusual has happened. She tells him their mother is meeting with Father Gabriel, so the two quietly sneak to the living room to listen. From behind the door, they hear their mother speaking about the distance between her and her husband. The priest gently advises her to be patient and try to bring warmth back into their marriage. Suddenly, the mother hears soft laughter from the hallway and catches her children listening. She scolds them both and sends them away. Later, by the river, Kate sits brushing her hair. Roger wades into the water and startles her with a splash. Laughing, he asks why she never used to sit by the river, and she explains that now, with most of the men gone to war, she finally feels at ease. The two talk for a while, sharing light-hearted moments in the calm afternoon sun. A few days later, Eliza hurries into the room holding a newspaper. Excited, she announces that Roland's picture is on the front page. He has brought down 3 enemy planes. The family gathers to look at the article, proud of his bravery. Eliza smiles and points out that in the photo, Roland is wearing one of their father's medals. That night, Kate and Marguerite quietly peek into the parents' bedroom, out of curiosity. A moment later, Roger joins them, but boldly pushes the door open. and sits inside to watch. When the man suddenly notices his son, the mood is ruined, and Roger quickly leaves, leaving his parents stunned and embarrassed. A few minutes later, Marguerite goes back to her room and is startled to find Roger waiting on her bed. He says he only wanted a goodnight kiss, like the one she used to give him when he was younger. Shocked, she tells him to leave at once or she'll call his mother. As Roger is about to go, he hears footsteps in the hallway. Marguerite asks who it is, and Roger answers that it's Mr. Frank. The older man enters, holding a notebook, and explains that he came to read her a poem he wrote in her honor. While he reads his verses with heartfelt emotion, Roger quietly turns away a small statue of the Virgin Mary on the table, as if to hide from its gaze. The moment grows tense and confusing, leaving Marguerite torn between discomfort and pity for both men. Outside the door, Mr. Frank hears faint sounds coming from Marguerite's room. The next day, Roger follows Mr. Frank to the attic and sees him studying a curious wooden box. When Roger asks why he avoids women, Mr. Frank says, "Such things are easier for the young." That evening, Roger asks Helen about her secret admirer, but she only shrugs and leaves. The next morning, Bertha teases Roger about the staff gossip and asks if he's tried to charm Marguerite, but he admits nothing happened. Later, he follows Eliza to the stables and offers to help her after her ride, and she smiles, unaware of his feelings. In the stables, Eliza tries to calm Roger, but they stop when Mrs. Mueller enters. Outside, Bertha sees Roger leaving, looking flustered, notices Eliza following him, realizing what may have happened. That night, Ursula and Helen visit Roger, teasing him before leaving. Ursula then notices Marguerite heading toward his room and follows out of curiosity. A few days later, Roger and Eliza meet in secret. She seems worried, but their talk is interrupted by a passing airplane. They hide until it lands and see Roland step out, proudly announcing his promotion to captain. On the way back, returning male workers pass by, and later the servants help Adolphe gently stretch his injured leg. Mrs. Mueller walks by crying, telling the others that her husband died in the war. The maids comfort her. That evening, Ursula tells Roger she is expecting. He suggests she consider marrying someone reliable, but she is unsure. Before leaving, she brings a bottle of red nail polish for him. Soon after, Marguerite shares that she is also expecting, and Roger advises her to seek a kind and caring man. He keeps things calm, asking Ursula to wait in his room while he talks to Marguerite. Later, Roger overhears Elisa and Roland planning carefully, following proper guidance given the unusual circumstances of the war. Later, he talks quietly with Helen, while Marguerite and Mr. Frank and Elisa and Roland handle their own matters. A few days later, the chapel hosts 3 weddings: Elisa and Roland, Marguerite and Mr. Frank, and Ursula and Valentine. After the celebrations, Roland returns to the war. The women tease Roger about naming future children after him. He says goodbye to Ursula, promising he will never forget her, though she prefers to move on. While gathering his things, he notices Helen may also be expecting, and she reassures him she will manage. Before leaving, his mother warns him not to get distracted in town. Smiling quietly at the irony, Roger looks back at the women who made his summer unforgettable as the carriage carries him away.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay connected with us.